more on this teacher issue because I just want to set a little bit of context to the discussions that we've been having over time and the discussion that we're set to have on the front page this morning by pointing to a couple facts in one country in particular. That country has taken up many teachers, hundreds of teachers from Jamaica in recent years, and it's needful to look at the situation in that country because, as we've said here on this program, Jamaican teachers aren't going to jurisdictions where they're creating new teaching jobs. And Tony would understand that if I look at this, it appears as if I'm looking at you, so
Yes.
don't mind me not looking at you directly, yeah?
Yes.
Jamaican teachers are moving to countries where there are vacancies. So teachers in those countries have left the jobs, abandoned the classroom, said they don't want to work in this field anymore. Those are the vacancies that Jamaican teachers are going to fill. And everything is relative. What do I mean by relative? In the UK, in the US, in Canada, in Dubai, teachers there will say that their standard of living is low. They will not work for what effective to them are slave wages. They then leave the jobs because they say they're not working for the slave wages. But for Jamaicans, those wages look very good in nominal terms. So they run to those jobs. But those jobs are being abandoned by people who feel that what you're paying me, it's not worth my time and my energy. We are going to take up those jobs, and not just us, people around the world are going to take up those jobs in the countries I've identified. Now, we all know again, because we've said it here on this program and on this station in our newscasts very often, UNESCO says 44 million teachers are needed around the world. The global shortage of teachers, 44 million. And UNESCO have used the word crisis to describe the teacher shortage issue. And they have noted with concern the mass migration of teachers from developing countries to developed countries. The World Health Organization has a red list of countries from which developing countries cannot recruit medical professionals from, because they say, well, if you take all the doctors from these developing countries, what is going to happen to people in their countries? Perhaps it is that there's need for an education red list at a certain point where they say that, boy, you can't bring in teachers from a particular country to work in your developed nation. But that red list for education is yet to come. What does exist is a red list where medical professionals are concerned. But set that aside for now. So again, context setting. We hear every day that the education system in Jamaica is not fit for purpose. We are flooded with stories about how bad things are. In large part, it is true. What is also true is that the system has produced results, produced outstanding students, has given teachers a means to earn a living, and has done well for the country over time to build up the intellectual capital and the quality of the human resource in the country. That too is true, and I've said several times here that we need to transfer our thinking away from believing that if one thing is right, nothing else cannot be right at the same time. Yeah, you can have 10 things right and 10 things wrong about the same issue all at the same time. It's adult thinking. Get yourself into adult thinking mode. So yes, it is ramshackle in many respects, but yes, it is good in many respects and delivering good results, even as it is underserving a large segment of the student constituency, and of course the teachers who impart the lessons. Now here I go to the context. Tona, the UK have a teacher crisis like nothing you've heard of. I've been reading and saving, and I knew I was saving these articles for a reason, because I knew that time would come here in the Jamaican context. Here's the thing. Here's what I've saved. From June last year, the Department of Education in the UK published a survey which found that teachers in England are abandoning, remember, we're talking about the whole UK, but this is just for England. Teachers in England are abandoning their profession in record numbers, according to official figures, with the then opposition Labour Party, they're no government, claiming that incompetent government policies were to blame. The latest workforce survey by the Department for Education, this is an article from June 2023 in the Observer in London. The latest workforce survey by the Department for Education found that 40,000 teachers resigned from public schools in England in 2022, which is almost 9% of the total teaching workforce. And it's the highest number since it began publishing the data in 2011, with another 4,000 teachers retired. The survey found that on-field teaching vacancies were also at a record high, with more than 2,300 empty posts compared with just 530 10 years before. A further 3,300 posts were filled by supply teachers, 1,000 more than in 2021. So the Department of Education in the UK found that in England, 40,000 teachers resigned in 2022. Following that, the publication of that and some other developments, the then Shadow Education Secretary, a lady named Bridget Phillipson, a Labour Party MP, she's now the Education Secretary in England, in the UK rather. In June this year, June 27 to be precise, she published an article where she said, quote, "The school system in the UK is a shambles. It is overstretched, undervalued, left by a threadbare state to steer children through difficulties that go way beyond the classroom. Poverty, insecure housing, and mental ill health, to name a few, and enduring the stress of a flawed inspection system with teachers leaving in record numbers, never to return. Vacancies have reached alarming levels with severe shortages in STEM subjects. It's led schools to spend hundreds of millions on agency and supply staff to fill what ought to be temporary gaps. Money that could be better put towards textbooks, musical instruments, and enriching school trips." That's what, in June this year, not so long ago, the then shadow education secretary rather, noted. She is now the education secretary, so it's her problem to solve. The National Education Union in the UK, in England rather, this year, because situation was so bad where teaching is concerned in England in March this year, it asked its members to consider strike action because the union's general secretary accused the union of planning an insulting pay raise. They were planning to strike, Tana, because they heard that the government was only going to increase their pay by between 1% and 2%. And they said, but this is insulting because our members can't survive now on what they are earning. So how dare you only approve a 1 to 2% increase in our wages? Another article I saved, this one from February this year. Quote, "Teaching unions have accused ministers in the UK of daylight robbery after a new survey by the Trades Union Congress revealed that teachers perform the most unpaid overtime of any profession in the United Kingdom. The survey found that 2 out of 5 teaching staff in the UK worked 26 hours for free each week for a combined 5.5 million hours per year. Patrick Roach, General Secretary of the NASUWT Teaching Union, that's the biggest teaching union in the UK, said it was shameful evidence the government was relying on free labour rather than investing in schools and colleges. He says the fact that teachers are losing out on an average of £15,000 a year in unpaid overtime is nothing less than daylight robbery. Teachers are seeing their workloads piled higher and higher, and with cuts to support staff and cuts to other children's services, teachers are now working around the clock." Stay with me here. This article now from April 2024, same Observer, it says, "Hundreds of thousands of pupils in England and Wales are being educated on the cheap by low-paid teaching assistants covering lessons for teachers who are off sick or who have quit." That's according to new research. It says a desperate teacher recruitment crisis compounded by inadequate funding means schools across the country are struggling to put a qualified teacher at the front of every class. Teachers' assistants are being asked to plug the gaps for little or no extra pay. At primary level, they describe being told to lead classes ranging from nursery to grade 6 with just minutes to spare. In secondary schools, teaching assistants are teaching subjects at GSCE level or equivalent CSEC level, where teachers have left and not been replaced. The use of teaching assistants to supervise classes was introduced in England and Wales in 2004 in cases of unexpected teacher absence to allow for supervision for limited periods. But the current teacher shortage, as well as increased levels of long-term sickness, means teaching assistants are routinely being deployed as teachers, though national guidance states that they should not actively teach. This is in the UK. And the last one. All school leaders, this is an article from, you notice all of them are 2024. This is from March 2024, March 31 to be precise. All school leaders should receive suicide prevention training to help tackle a mental health emergency in England and Wales among teachers. A workforce survey of members of the largest teaching union found that some teachers had been driven to the point of suicide by the stress of the job. Among 12,000 responses, 23% reported drinking more alcohol, 12% the use of or increased use of antidepressants, and 3% said they had self-harmed as a result of their work. The results and emotional testimony from delegates about colleagues who had taken their own lives or planned to do so prompted members to back a suicide prevention strategy for teachers at the union's annual conference in Harrogate, North Yorkshire. It urged the union's executive to campaign for staff trained in mental health first aid in all schools and colleges and fully funded mandatory mental health training. So I leave it here to say, the situation in the places that our teachers are being induced to go to is ugly. It's like a bright light. You know, you can't look in a bright light because you have to shield your eyes. It's ugly like bright light. This is what our teachers are running to because, again, from a relativity perspective, the teachers in the UK are abandoning the classroom because they say the system is ramshackle. Their members are being driven to suicide. People start drink more. People are pop more pills, taking more antidepressants. Teaching assistants, people who the national guidelines say must not teach, are preparing students to sit external exams. And it's a whole maelstrom of mediocrity and failings. They leave those jobs. Relatively speaking, these jobs look enticing to us here in our reality, in our economy, and our teachers are flocking there. So it's not that foreign jobs pay more, it's just that foreign pays more, and our teachers are going there. The government, though, amid all of this, and the government should find no comfort in this, because the fact of the matter is, what is your teacher retention strategy? So we could support you. I could support you certainly if you said that you have a strategy implemented and it's failing, and we could say, boy, at least you are try. But this morning, Education Minister, Prime Minister, it looked like you're not trying none at all. And even though the weight of data is on your side to say Jamaica is a victim of circumstances because 44 million teachers are short around the world, and even though the places our teachers are flocking to, teachers have flocked away from those jobs that our Jamaicans are flocking to, it still doesn't give you anywhere to hide where the question arises. What are you doing to seek to keep more of the best of us from going to work in other places? That's what's on my mind this morning.